So, yeah, that buff didn't really do much, did it? Hello. So I kind of want to get it out of the way because as of recording, I still don't know what I'm going to title this video. Probably somewhere along the lines of like, the elixirs still suck. But the point of this video isn't to just complain about how bad elixirs are. It's more to talk about the community perception of elixirs, because I think people treat elixirs as way better than they are. The way I always see them used is to get the perfect piece, an onset 40 crit value goblet for whatever you need. But those are some greatly inflated expectations, because even with the past buff that gives you 2 guaranteed rolls into the stats you selected, elixirs don't have much better rates for getting high crit value or stat value in general than regular farmed artifacts. And to be fair, I don't think that's entirely the community's fault. Elixirs are incredibly rare. You don't get many of them. It seems like we're going to be getting them sparingly through exploration patches. You get 1 off the battle pass if you buy it. And through a recent dev discussion, we learned that they were being added to Theater as a 9-star clear reward. Theater is a relatively easy mode unless you're going for stars. I mean, me personally, I don't ever really go for stars specifically. I've gotten 10 stars once, 9 stars twice. But the most recent theater was also the hardest, and I only got 5 stars. And I'd say it's safe to assume they're going to continue this difficulty pattern. And I think their rarity has contributed a lot to how overblown their perceived value has gotten. Because you get them so infrequently, people tend to hold on to them and only save them for very important pieces. But in reality, elixir pieces, when the mechanic first came out, they didn't have any better odds than regular pieces to roll well, and the 2 guaranteed rolls made it better, but with the way those rolls were implemented, it isn't a significant upgrade. I don't want to get too mathy, so I'm going to try to explain this simply. And this is all assuming a artifact that starts with 4 lines and will get 5 rolls into its substats, but the odds don't change for a 3-line starter that only gets 4 rolls. Those 2 guaranteed rolls are essentially treated as pity, where if the first 3 rolls all miss on your selected stats, then the last 2 rolls will be guaranteed into those stats. On the flip side, if you do get lucky and 2 of those first 3 rolls go into the stats that you want, then the last 2 rolls are completely random, like they would be with any other artifact. And actually, in that scenario, all of your rolls were random, and you just got lucky on 2 of them. It's functionally no different from rolling an artifact you got from a domain. Functionally, all this does is raise the floor of how bad a piece can be. It doesn't increase the chances that you will roll into desirable stats more times, it just saves you from getting a piece that doesn't roll into your desired stats any times. However, this change did make Elixir a little bit better for what I believe their best use case already was, which was to use them as an excuse to not farm a domain. I recently on a stream crafted this piece. As you can see, it's really nothing special, which I mean, it's anecdotal, but it kind of proved my point about how meh elixirs are. Anyways, the point of this was that I already had good crimson pieces in all my other slots, but because I only ever farmed crimson for Hu Tao, my only sans was HP, and the crimson domain is already inefficient enough, so I didn't want to go back to it just to look for an EM timepiece, which is the rarest main stat a timepiece can have. So I used my elixirs to make this. It's not crazy, but it has the right main stat and it has enough good substats that it is usable. It makes my builds function, and I didn't have to spend 3 weeks in Crimson Witch to try to get it. In my opinion, that's where the value of elixirs lies. They don't give increased odds to get insane pieces, but they at least give you a baseline minimum value. And you can use that baseline minimum value to skip out on farming certain inefficient domains. You shouldn't go into your elixir pieces with inflated expectations, looking to get something insane, because elixir pieces have the same chances of rolling high as regular domain artifacts do. They just don't have a potential to roll insanely low. It's just that Hoyo's distribution of them has made people think they're way better than they are. There have been 6 across all the exploration in Natlan. I think they've given 1 or 2 through the mail as gifts for special occasions, occasions, like Lanternrite or Anniversary, with the only consistent ways of getting them being through this, which I'll get to in a second here, and spending real ass money on the Battle Pass. And with Theater, they'll be adding a third, more consistent way to get them, but I think this is only going to be a consistent way of getting them for more well-invested accounts, and more well-invested accounts get less value out of elixirs. They're certainly still useful, but my point is that the people who get the elixirs from Imaginarium are the people who need them the least. To get 9 stars in Theater, you first have to be able to challenge Visionary, which requires a lot of units, and to actually get the stars, you need to have those units be decently well invested. So the players who are getting an item that lets you save time horizontally investing are the players who meet the highest check for horizontal investment in the game. I hope you're picking up what I'm laying down here. It's not exactly rocket science. So about sacrificing artifacts for elixirs, I have to say I'm thankful to see how many people online say they did this once and never again because it felt like a scam. As your account progresses, artifact XP becomes one of the most valuable resources and one of the rarer resources. So throwing a ton of leveled artifacts into a garbage fire just to get one elixir that you can turn into a level 0 piece that might roll well, it is just not worth it. Even if you were gonna throw out a piece, like say this, I probably won't use it. It's way better to feed the XP that is already in this piece into another piece that might roll well, instead of getting 30% of one elixir that you need multiple of to craft another level 0 piece that might roll well. I don't like making definitive statements in Genshin. The best move for any given account is never the same. There are too many variables. Throwing away all this artifact XP just to get a +0 piece that has the same chances to roll well as all of your other pieces do, it just doesn't make sense. And one last thing, on the note of crafting, I think timepieces are easily the best option. I haven't crafted anything else. With how rarely you get elixirs, asking to use 3 or 4 of them for one artifact is kind of a lot. I won't outright say it's a bad decision like this is, but I will say that timepieces are your most efficient. I think there are cases where it is a good decision, like crafting a decent onset goblet to enable a crazy off piece, or vice versa if your circlet is your off piece. But because timepieces are so much cheaper, I just have a hard time crafting anything that isn't a timepiece. Like, it takes 50% more to craft a circlet and twice as much to craft a goblet. I would much rather create 2 mid timepieces than 1 mid goblet. But like I said, that is something that's more situational. There are good reasons to craft the other 2. I just think that this is the most efficient and it's what I do. Feather and flower are a scam, but I think everyone knows that. I don't know if anyone's ever crafted a feather or flower with this. Anyways, I'm gonna finish this off by defining a Thundering Fury timepiece. Let's see if the game proves my point. Already not looking good. I'm glad that it's a 4-liner, but the other 2 lines don't look great. I'm just gonna toss that Tenacity Sands that I found in. There we go! At least take it to level 20 and see if it at least gives me a high roll. Can't have anything good. Still gonna keep it because my other EM timepiece is similarly sad, but I think this is the perfect showcase. This is what you can expect out of elixir pieces. Maybe a little better than this. Maybe this is actually one of the worst ones. But yeah, don't have high expectations for your elixir pieces. Use them to complete builds and avoid farming domains. Hoyo made them as rare as they did, and they buffed them in a weird way to make you think that they are better than they are. Don't get fooled by the gacha overlords, and have a good day.